So this weekend, a real challenging situation popped up in my life, and it led to two lessons that I want to share here in this video. And look, I'm gonna be super duper honest with you. This is a very difficult video for me to make. This is a really sensitive topic, and this is a real raw experience that I've had to deal with several times over the past few weeks and months. But this past weekend was a significant challenge. But the lesson here is so valuable and so important, I felt like I had no choice but to share it. So what happened was, I was sitting here in my house this weekend, and I got a phone call from my friend telling me that someone in the solution-focused field, a woman by the name of Terry Pichot, posted a message of diversity allyship on her website, and this person was concerned that it wasn't written terribly well. By the time I got to the internet, this same message had been posted by the same person on a public forum related to solution-focused brief therapy, which is where I saw it. And I read the message, and I was offended. I was super duper offended. One of the things that this message put forth is that as solution-focused people, we should not shame people who are saying racial taglines, and instead kind of be empathetic and understand that they come from a difficult background, a difficult space. And I was blown away by that, because we wouldn't do that about any other group of people, right? We wouldn't do that about like Bill Cosby drugging and taking advantage of and raping women. I wouldn't say, yeah, but he's come from this difficult background that led to that. Like someone who's an abusive parent, we wouldn't say, yeah, but they come from, sometimes wrong is wrong, and it is okay for us to stand on, this is wrong. I think solution-focused brief therapy, one of the most prominent criticisms about this approach is that, we think we can just be blindly positive about things, and that somehow makes the situation better. And that is actually not true. So I want to draw a really important distinction, and this is lesson number one here in this video. I'm not saying in any way that the person making these comments or saying hurtful things or doing hurtful things do not have redeeming qualities. But we have to draw a distinction between our stance of the action and our responsibility to the person. And I'll give you a really good example. I believe that racist comments, racial stances, discrimination, these things are really, really bad and have impacted my life in a significant way for a very, very long time. I am very comfortable telling you that I think racism is wrong. I think racism should not have any place in a kind, integral society, and we should do everything we can to eradicate it. But once someone walks into my office, I have a different responsibility to that behavior, right? And I'll tell you a really quick story as an example of that. So one time I was seeing a client. I had never met this client before, and it was a couple, and it became obvious to me that the woman in the partnership found me for the therapy appointment, but didn't tell the husband anything about me. So I walked into my lobby, opened the door, and the husband, white man, my office is in Texas, he stood up and he looked at his wife and he said, "You didn't tell me he was an N-word." And I'm standing right there. I just walked into my lobby, I'm standing right there. And I just thought, whoa. And I said, "Give me 1 second." And I left. I went back into my office and I prayed and I paced probably about 5, maybe 10 minutes. And I walk out in my lobby and they're still there. The woman is crying and the husband is sitting there angry. And I said to the couple, now that was really uncomfortable, it was really awkward, but if the two of you would still like therapy, I'm still willing to provide it. The husband didn't say anything, he just stood up and he walked into my office. The woman's still sitting there crying. As he was walking through the door of the lobby into my office, he said, "You're coming?" And she got up and she came. And I did that therapy session. And I've told that story before as I teach, and people ask me, how did you do that? And I always tell them, because once they're in my office, it's my job, it's my duty to see them through the lens of capability. Now that does not okay the behavior. That does not justify the behavior. But once they're in my office, I have a different duty to that person and to what they're asking me to help them to achieve. But as I'm looking at the world and I see racist people doing racist things, I don't have to side with it. Like, I don't have to be okay with it. In fact, for me to do so is harmful and disrespectful to a whole race of people, and that is why this statement made by Terry Pichot missed the mark in a significant way and caused offense to many people who look like me, and I hope she learns, and I hope she does better. On this public forum, I attempted to make that claim. I attempted to explain why this was so hurtful. And many people made it very clear that they weren't interested. They're just happy to, as long as the person is making an attempt, that's okay with them. And that's not good enough for me. You have to do better. This is not okay. This is not okay. It is okay to stand up and say, racist rhetoric is wrong. But if the racist person comes into your office, you have a different duty to them. And that's a really important distinction. For many, many years, people misunderstood solution-focused brief therapy as an approach that's like, we're just gonna be blindly positive. This is not a time to put forth that stereotype. We are not gonna be blindly positive. We are gonna hold firm to the line that some things are okay and some things not, and there are certain people in this field who need to do better, and I encourage you and I challenge you to do so. Now, the second lesson here is one of social justice. So the first thing is understanding we're not blindly positive, but we just have different duties when the person comes in my office. When they're in my office, it's my job to see them through a certain lens of capability and able to accomplish their desired change for the therapy. But in the world, like, it's okay to side with the people who have been victimized and who have been traumatized by this racist rhetoric. Any attempt to make the racist rhetoric feel like it's okay is disrespectful to the people who've been experiencing it, and that has to stop. From a social justice perspective, we have to listen better. Like, we really have to listen better. It's really important that when someone who looks like me says, hey guys, I found that post offensive, I'm not telling you to think anything. You can love the post if you want to. It can be your favorite thing you ever read if you want to. I'm just asking you to honor that someone who doesn't look like you, who doesn't have your lived experience, might have had a different experience with the post, and that is valid, right? I'm asking you to listen and validate what you're hearing, because both can be true. I'm not trying to convince you that the post was bad. I'm trying to convince you that people who have a different lived experience have a different, they took in that information from that post differently. And I think sometimes we get so defensive and our first go-to is feeling challenged and attacked. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm not challenging anybody. I'm simply requesting that you listen to the idea that maybe people who look like you are okay with what was written, and maybe people who don't are not. And we have to do a better job of listening. I've been saying the whole time, man, this whole Black Lives Matter movement, it's a movement of voice. People want to be heard. In order for me to feel equal, I have to think that you take what I say and you experience it as valid from my point of view. Any attempt to shut that down is oppression, is wrong, and I, for one, will fight against it with every breath in my being. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's really hard to make, but really, really important. Thank you for watching.